be the last class?
No. We still have one more class.
मैम आप क्लास स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं, रिकॉर्डिंग स्टार्ट.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, good evening, Sunidhi.
Good evening, ma'am.
Is this your first session online with me?
No, ma'am.
So you have previously attended my sessions, right? So just to, since we are having these weekly sessions, I'm just going to start with a brief recap of what we have done so far in the previous classes, so that we are ready for today's session. So we'll take only 5 to 10 minutes to brief you about what we have done so far. Okay. First of all, let me just share my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, dear. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is a session for HR metrics and analytics, and my name is Dr. DIMPY HANDA, and I've been working at Shahid Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women from past 6 years. So before I start with today's session, I would like to give you a brief about what we have done so far in the previous classes. So as you know, the objective of this course is to familiarize the participants to use the tools that can help you to analyze, interpret, and generate reports and create dashboards for taking human resource management to the next level and make analytics-based decision making in the organization. So the course is divided into 2 parts, Module 1 and Module 2. So far in the previous sessions, we had covered whole of the Module 1, and today we are going to start up with the Module 2. That includes the analytics part of the subject. This is a list of suggested books that you can refer to for the varied topics in the content. Before I jump into HR analytics, I would like to make a point over here to share that HR metrics and analytics are 2 different concepts. HR metrics are considered to be the ABC, and HR analytics is where you actually work around to have basic insights into the HR processes and their impact on the organizational performance. So when you talk about HR metrics, you calculate different kind of ratios, and when you talk about HR analytics, based on that metrics, you uncover different patterns, correlations, and make predictions about the human resources in the organization. So there are 2 approaches to go about HR metrics. The first one is qualitative assessment, and the second one is quantitative analysis. So HR analytics is more or less about the quantitative analysis that we'll be working around. There are various objectives of using HR metrics. So for example, optimizing the talent acquisition, improving employee engagement and retention, enhancing the performance management, ensuring compliance and risk management, driving organization strategy, and optimizing the cost efficiency. HR metrics also brings in different kind of eclots for the organization. For example, if you work around these analytics and prove to be a good HR department within the organization, you may land up certain awards. For example, SHRM HR awards, HR Tech awards, People Matters Tech HR awards. This is the list of certain companies who have been receiving these accolades for since the beginning of these awards, and few Indian names over here will show you, like IBM and Infosys. So then we talked about different tools for compiling HR data and metrics. That includes balanced scorecard, employee survey, employment test scores, HRIS, that stands for Human Resource Information System, performance management system, time and attendance system, and then learning management system. So we talked about all these tools in depth in the very first session. I hope you were part of it, dear.
Yes, ma'am.
Moving further, in the second session, we talked about different HR functional processes and the related HR metrics, in which we can actually have a look around about the efficiency of these processes. So the various HR functions we talked about was workforce planning, HR deployment, recruitment, selection, performance, training and learning, compensation benefits, and employee relations. So just to name a few metrics which we use under these kind of functions are okay. So under workforce planning, we use measures such as headcount, retention, planning, skills, and competencies. And then in HR deployment, we use metrics such as staffing efficiency, workforce flexibility, workforce diversity, employee mobility, employee allocation, skill matching, and cost efficiency. Under the function of HR recruitment processes, we use metrics such as time to fill, how much time do you take to fill up a particular vacant position, how much time to hire, cost per hire, quality of hire, and the source of hire, applicant tracking system, diversity metric, recruitment funnel, a candidate experience while being recruited in the organization, and so on. Then under the selection function, we use ratios such as selection ratio, time and cost ratio, assessment performance, quality of hire, interview performance metrics, candidate experience. Again, in the selection part of the hiring, what was the candidate experience, diversity and inclusion, and the offer acceptance ratio. Moving further, we discussed varied performance metrics. We talked about different performance metrics from 3 different dimensions. The first one was the individual performance, the second was team performance, and the third dimension was the organizational level performance. Moving further, we talked about different training and learning metrics. What is the training participation, training evaluation rate, learning engagement, learning path effectiveness, training effectiveness, training ROI. ROI here stands for return on investment, and training compliance. Jumping on to the compensation benefit metrics, it also includes retention and engagement metrics and cost containment metrics. Then we discuss different kind of employee relation metrics. For example, employee engagement, satisfaction level, employee relations issues, communication feedback, and workplace culture. So basically, employee relation metrics is based on the qualitative assessment of the HR metrics. And so far, we have been discussing the quantitative analysis. Let me know if you need any clarification regarding any of these metrics before I move further. Okay. Then we talked about different kind of qualitative and quantitative HR outcome metrics. So before that, all these metrics that I have discussed so far and made point of are basically the metrics that tells you about the effectiveness of different HR functions within the organization. But how these HR functions contribute to the bottom line of the organization, this comes from the HR outcome metrics. Hence, we talked about different HR outcome metrics. These are of 2 types, qualitative and quantitative. We first laid down the difference between both the kind of HR outcome metrics. So in nutshell, what I can say that is qualitative HR outcomes metrics focus on subjective experiences, perceptions, and attitudes that are useful for understanding employees' sentiment and diagnosing issues. While the quantitative HR outcome metrics involve numerical data, statistical analysis to measure specific outcomes objectively and are valuable for tracking performance, setting goals, and making data-driven decisions. These were the different HR outcome metrics that we talked about: attrition, absenteeism, job satisfaction, employee engagement, perception and attitude, HRD climate, safety, wellness, and employee health. Moving further, we talked about, we also discussed a case study. Then we talked about एक second. Different kind of social metrics. Metrics that help us analyzing the social performance of an organization. So that includes diversity metrics such as race and ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, socioeconomic backgrounds, geographic diversity. Then we talked about different kind of demographic metrics that focus on the characteristics such as age, education, family status, providing insights into the composition and the diversity of the workforce. Moving further, we discussed about the different kind of occupational metrics that helps us to focus on factors related to the job roles, functions, and career paths within the organization, providing insight into the diversity across different occupational categories. Then we talked about different kind of HR data capturing methods. Okay, how can we collect data for these kind of metrics? So as I already informed you, one of those tools is HRIS, Human Resource Information System. This is a much sophisticated automated system which captures data about the employees on day-to-day basis. Then we have surveys and questionnaires as a tool, interviews and focus groups, performance metrics and KPIs. KPIs here stand for key performance indicators of the employee's performance. And then we talked about what is benchmarking and different kind of benchmarking methods. So in total, there are 4 kind of benchmarking methods. The first one is internal benchmarking. Second is external benchmarking. Then best practice benchmarking. And then finally, we talked about process benchmarking. Then the next topic that we included in the previous slides was to how we can align this HR metrics and the organizational performance. So basically, how can HR metrics contribute towards the organizational bottom line? Here are different points and the strategies through which we can align their performance. So we discussed the whole process, also using a particular case over here. Okay, what are the different steps that you can use for assessing the bottom line impact? Now this was all about module 1, which was HR metrics. Now this brings me to the topic in hand, which is HR analytics. And today we are starting with the module 2. Is my screen still visible? I hope so. It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Nidhi. Okay. Now, analytics in HR is also known as HR analytics or workforce analytics. This basically refers to the application of data analysis and statistical techniques to human resource data. The very primary objective is to use these techniques is to improve the organizational performance by making data-driven decisions about managing employees more effectively. So for example, if I talk about IT industry in particular, okay, IT industry is said to have a very high kind of attrition rate. Now, this is a major HR problem faced by the human resource management department within the IT industry. How to control the high rate of attrition? Now, in order to control the high rate of attrition, you need to assess the root cause, what is causing that high rate of attrition. Now, dwelling into the data that is provided by the employees or through the HRIS system or different kind of surveys or questionnaires, as I talked about the different tools for collecting data, I can analyze what are the different causes for having so high rate of attrition in the organization. That may be because employee satisfaction level is not good. That may be because there is lack of diversity in the organization or diversity based satisfaction in the organization. So there might be a situation that on the diversity metric, that means the number of people coming from different diverse background, you have such a high number. So you have a very heterogeneous kind of workforce group in your organization. but your employee satisfaction levels are going very down or maybe somewhere negative. So this will lead to a situation where you can have an insight. Although I'm hiring a lot of diverse people in my organization, but the thing is, they are not acceptable by the existing workforce. Hence, the overall employee morale and employee satisfaction level is going down. And that might be a root cause for having a high rate of attrition. Or if I'm assessing some other kind of data, I get to know that on an average, an employee spends only 1 year in my organization and then leaves the organization. That may be because I'm not paying good enough. Okay, or maybe because I'm not providing those employees with good opportunities to grow within my organization, or might be my workplace culture is not well suited for the Gen Z that I'm hiring. So over here, if you have good amount of data, you can have good amount of insights about that data, about the human resources in your organization based on that data. Whole of this process is known as HR analytics. Now, coming from this definition, the characteristics of HR analytics works around. HR analytics often is known as people analytics as well. It is a very dynamic and new approach to understand human resources within the organization. It is a data-driven approach that defines a dynamic way of how organizations manage their most important resource, that is human resources or employees. Analytics also provides a comprehensive framework for improving HR practices by methodologically gathering, analyzing, and implementing insights from and for employee-related data. It is defined as an analysis of employee data sets to enhance management decision-making and keep track of performance improvement. Analytics is also described as a process of determining the influence of HR metrics on business performance. So in a shell, it is also known to be the extension of business analytics, since it helps to improve the bottom line function. Throughout the worldwide epidemic, the capacity to use data to inform decision has grown in significant ways. The job environment is changing as we get closer to post-pandemic society in a number of ways, including the increasing acceptance of hybrid labor force and expanding the use of automation system. Making the right choices is essential to navigate our new realities in this disruptive and uncertain era in which analytics can go beyond the limits to help you out. Before I go into what kind of tools we use in HR analytics, I would like to talk about the scope. Okay, how important this HR analytics is for the organization and how can it actually help the organization. So since it is a data-driven approach that can be analyzed logically and critically to get some meaningful output to make work better, there is a list of benefits and scope of HR analytics that contributes in the increased competence in day-to-day functions of corporate and helps in planning more effectively for future. The very first point that the HR analytics can assist in strategic decision making. HR analytics can assist in checking what is right and what is wrong and then further selecting former and discarding the latter to strategic decisions. This is possible only by helping applying data analysis and enhanced critical thinking over it. So the relevant data helps HR leaders in identifying strong strategies and working more on area of improvement. Thus, strategic decision making helps in improving employee and business productivity, enhancing employee engagement, and retaining them for a very long period of time in the organization, controlling the attrition rate in the organization. Necessity of HR analytics grows with the growth in digitalization as it generates a platform for massive data. Resultantly, the scope of HR analytics becomes vast as well as the organization want more people who can assist them in data-based decision making. Analytics is growing swiftly to renovate the way of HR professions work. Hence, applications of HR analytics assist when it comes to get a better visibility of employee data and helps in identifying trends and patterns of the same to better understand workforce behavior. So it gives a hold on almost all the HR functions, including recruitment, performance management, employee engagement, and retention, and how that we are going to discuss in the later slides. It also helps to increase coverage over statistical softwares. HR Analytics implements analysis by the help of statistical softwares, data visualization, and predictive modeling. Thus, it provides good knowledge over data analytics tools and software such as Advanced, Excel, R, and Python. Management or managers can learn how to collect, clean, and analyze data, and finally implement the analysis to benefit stakeholders. HR analytics is in demand nowadays as it furnishes unique skill set that is need of the hour in today's corporate world. Intellects of HR analytics are well placed to work in a versatile industry ranging from healthcare, finance, technology, manufacturing to many more. Also, if you are like a specialized person in HR, human resources management, you could also develop your specialization into this new branch of HR analytics, which is for HRM, which is HR analytics, by doing consultancies for the different organization. So it is not necessary that after going through the specialization of HR, you can only work as an HR manager in a particular department of an organization. You could also work in any kind of HR consultancies where you can provide human resource based solutions to the organization for their HR related problems. So this is also a gateway for opportunities with an hope to lead with improved efficiencies and effectiveness. HR analytics can also assist professionals to identify opportunities for innovation and optimization in HR processes. As HR analytics is applicable in every field, it demands the professionals to be updated with the skills and knowledge required to serve the purpose. This not only keeps them above the curve as compared to others, but also assists in exploring various new options in the corporate world. The scope of analytics in HR encompasses various aspects of employee life cycle within the organization. That includes recruitment, retention, training and development, performance management, and workforce planning aspect. So under how these analytics could help under the recruitment function, this is how what we are going to study now. HR analytics can be used to optimize the recruitment process by analyzing data related to candidate sourcing, application metrics, candidate demographics, and hiring outcomes. By understanding which recruitment channel yields the best candidates and predicting candidate success based on historical data, organization can make more informed decision about where to allocate resources for recruiting efforts. So for example, a company wants to optimize its recruitment strategy for software engineers. By analyzing the historical recruitment data, they find that the candidates sourced from professional networking sites have a higher retention rate compared to those sourced from job boards. Armed with this insight, the HR team decides to allocate more resources to networking sites and adjust their recruitment budget accordingly. Now, this is a mainstream problem with the HR department within any organization, that the HR department's budget is kept very low in comparison to other departments' budgets. And more allocation is done towards the marketing or maybe the production or the quality department, quality checking department. Now, within the limited resources, HR department has to work the best out of it. Over here, the data-driven decision making makes a lot of sense over here, since we have very scarce resources monetarily and otherwise. We have to go through each and every important aspect of the HR processes. So which recruitment channel is going to yield me the best of the employees? This is one of the important factor that I need to assess from the data that I need that I have from varied pool. So from past, if I have been hiring students from different IITs and from B grade MBA schools, and eventually I get to know that IIT students does not stick with my organization for a very long period of time, and B grade B school students from second category of business schools remain with my organization for a longer period of time, having almost similar kind of quality work. So over here, I can invest more into the second category of business schools and not so much in IIT IIMs. Any which ways, they are not going to stick with me. Then we'll talk about the retention analytics. Then understanding employee turnover is crucial for organizations to identify factors contributing to attrition and take proactive measures to retain top talent. HR analytics can analyze turnover rates, employee demographic satisfaction survey, and exit interviews to identify patterns and predictors of turnover. This data can inform retention strategies such as improving workplace culture, offering career development opportunities, and addressing issues that contribute to employee dissatisfaction. For an example, an organization notices a sudden increase in employee turnover among a particular department. By conducting exit interviews and analyzing employee survey data, they discover that employees in that department are dissatisfied with the lack of career advancement opportunities. In response to that, what can an HR department do? HR managers can implement a mentorship program and provide career development opportunities to address these concerns and improve retention rates within that particular department. Okay. Learning and development analytics can assess the effectiveness of training and development programs by analyzing data on employee skills, development, training completion rates, performance improvements, and return on investment. This data-driven approach helps organizations optimize their learning and development initiatives to meet the evolving needs of the workforce and achieve business objectives. So, for example, any tech company invests in a new coding boot camp for its software developers. HR tracks metrics such as completion rates, post-training performance improvements, and employee feedback service to evaluate the program's effectiveness. Eventually, they find that the developers who complete the bootcamp show a significant increase in productivity and code quality, validating the ROI, basically the rate of return on investment of the training investment. We shall take a 5 minutes break over here before resuming to the next slide. Shall we resume now? Okay, the next scope of HR analytics deals with the workforce planning and succession planning. The HR analytics enables organizations to focus future workforce needs based on factors such as retirement projections, talent gaps, turnover rates, and business growth projections. By identifying potential talent shortages or surplus, organizations can develop strategic workforce plans and succession plans to ensure they have the right people in the right roles and at the very right time. So, for example, a manufacturing company faces an impending retirement wave among its senior engineers. By analyzing demographic data and retirement projections, HR identifies potential skill gaps and talent shortages in critical roles. They develop a succession plan that includes targeted training programs, cross-training initiatives, and recruitment strategies to ensure a smooth transition and maintain operational continuity. Advanced HR analytics techniques such as predictive analytics involves using historical data to forecast future outcomes such as employee turnover, performance. Yes, do you have a query?
Yeah, ma'am, sorry for interruption. I-
No, nothing.
you-
Please.
Could you just, ma'am, could you just share
Your
the,
voice is, dear, your voice is breaking down.
ma'am, could you share the slide?
Can I share the slide? Okay. Just a second. Is there any way that I can upload the slides in this particular meeting link?
Ma'am, you can share in the chat.
I'm not able to see where this chat is. Could you please help me with that? There's a share
Ma'am,
invite.
there is more option, right, with view. So I think so you need to go there.
Okay,
With camera,
view
there is more option. No, in more option.
in more option. Meeting
Yeah.
info, video effects, language and speech
Yes.
settings. I'm not
Ma'am, but we
finding any.
always get the chat over here in these three dots.
See, I'm not that of a tech savvy person. I need to understand where I can upload or share the chat through. If you can help me with that, I can definitely share it. Show chat bubbles, device settings,
Ma'am,
accessibility.
no, actually, my question was regarding from the same page, predictive analytics, right? So in this
Okay.
predictive analysis, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want you to share it here. I just wanted
Okay.
you to open the page. Yeah, just like
Okay.
just now you have opened this slide. Yeah, ma'am.
Sure. Yes.
Predictive analytics. So, ma'am,
Right.
in this predictive analysis, from the previous data, we analyze certain kind of things, right? This is what is predictive analytics.
Is about. Oh, okay. I'll give you a better example overhead. Here, let's say I was doing data analysis. Okay, I have the data of how many people joined my organization in a particular recruitment drive and for how long they stayed with my organization. I have this kind of data. Okay, based on this data, I can make a prediction now. If I hire few new people in our next recruitment drive, so on an average, for how long they are going to stay in my organization. With
Yes,
this,
ma'am.
what will I have? What insight will I have? That, for example, the people hired through a new recruitment drive stays with in my organization for a period of, on an average, for a period of 2 years. That means the vacancies that I have filled in that particular recruitment drive are going to be vacant within next 2 years. So before they leave, if they eventually leave out of my organization, I need to start recruiting a new pool of employees so that my productivity is not hampered by employees leaving the organization. This
Yes, ma'am.
whole
Got
model.
it,
This whole model is known as predictive analytics.
ma'am.
Clear with this?
Basically, ma'am, yes,
Hmm.
we analyze or we predict that uh, from the data. Basically, we can just we can make it out that what will happen in the next time, right? In any kind
Right,
of
right,
data, we just predict. Yeah. We give the predictions as per our
right.
previous data. Now got it, ma'am.
Yes.
And ma'am, could you
We,
please share the? Could you please move to the last slide
this
to
one.
this previous slide? Ma'am, could you just show? Yes, ma'am. Workflows plan. Workforce planning and succession planning. Ma'am, workforce planning, it is also related to that. How will the employees in our company? Ma'am, could you just give another example of it? I'm not getting it.
Hello, am I audible and visible? Okay, Sunidhi, you need to get me back to your question. There was some technical glitch. I was disconnected. Just help me out with your question and please repeat it.
Ma'am, could you just repeat again succession planning and post planning?
Sorry, please repeat, pardon your question.
Ma'am, could you give me an example of succession planning?
Succession planning. Okay. Over here. Now, succession planning is basically the process in which we first of all identify the positions that are going to be vacant in the future. And these positions are not of the lower level of management. These positions are key positions within the organization. For example, a CTO of a startup is going to leave soon. Okay. Now, CTO is a very critical position in a startup, and you cannot fill this position by anyone by hiring through campus recruitment or your employee portals. This is a very critical position to fill in, and you need a person who has the technological know-how, also very well suited for your own startup. Now, if such key positions are going to be vacant very soon in my organization, what I'll do, I'll start my succession planning process. First of all, I'll identify who are all the people within my organization who are capable of filling that position in future if trained very rightly in the organization, because the people who are internally working in the organization are already aware about the organizational culture and the workplace culture, hence they'll easy to adopt to the new position. Now, if I identify 3 or 4 people in my tech department who can fill up the position of CTO, what I'll do, I'll start grooming them, train them, providing them with the challenging work that they are going to face up when they enter into the CTO position. Once the position gets vacant, it's time for me to promote for anyone who has done very well on these parameters and is best suited for that position. This whole process is known as succession planning. Is this clear? Have I answered your query? Any further queries from anyone else before I move further? Okay. So I was talking about predictive analysis. So what example over here I can give is of a healthcare organization that wants to predict employee turnover to proactively address retention issues. So what we can do by analyzing historical turnover data and employee engagement surveys, they develop a predictive model that identifies factors such as job satisfaction, workload, and tenure that are correlated with turnover. With this insight, HR can intervene early by implementing retention initiatives for at-risk employees such as flexible work arrangement or providing them with good career advancement opportunities. Moving further, how this concept of HR analytics came into picture for today. So the evolution of HR analytics actually started from pre-1990s, where the personal admin basically the person, there wasn't used to be any HR department in the organization prior to 1990s. This initiative of establishing in-house HR department boomed only in the 90s and so on. So before that, there used to be personal admin departments who used to 1 or 2 people taking care of all these functions of HR department. So what they used to do, they used to maintain spreadsheets about the employees' data, and at the max they were using MS Office at that time. Moving further, in 1990 to 2000, the era of workforce planning came into picture with the introduction of ERP systems. ERP is known as Enterprise Resource Planning System. So workforce planning is one dimension of ERP system. So they using those systems, they were able to analyze the workforce requirement in the future as well as in the current generation. Moving forward to 2001 and 2009, the employee productivity based on employee efforts, this concept came into picture, and human resource management transformed itself into human capital management system, and new different kind of new processes were developed in order to manage human resources in the organization. This further developed into a new era of talent management, which is very much closer to our current era, or we can say it was the seed of the analytics, where the talent management hunt started within the organization, and they started collecting on the metadata on within the organization so that they can analyze in order to make predictions about the human resources. And 2014 onwards, we have transformed ourselves from talent management to talent analytics, and collecting now working on the big data analytics rather than on metadata analytics. Now, before I jump into HR data sources, over here is different kind of sources. Okay, here are the different HR data sources that helps in collecting data for HR analytics. This particular framework is given by AIHR. I want to give due credit to it. AIHR is the Academy to Innovate Human Resources. This is a society which is working towards betterment of human resources and its processes within the organization. So if you want to be like updated in the field of HR world or HR field, I would really suggest you to subscribe to AIHR, as well as there's one more journal which is HBR, Harvard Business Review, that also gives quality articles and research about HR world. Coming back to the topic in hand, what are the different sources from where we can collect data for HR analytics? So over here, as you can see, there are three categories. The first one belongs to HRIS data. So basically data regarding to recruitment, learning management, succession planning, learning and employee survey data. All this can be collected through HRIS, Human Resource Information System. Apart from it, other HR data that includes demographic, job architecture, talent development, travel and well-being and wellness. This all can be categorized, and then further we categorize HR data into business data that includes performance management, compensation benefits, exit interviews, mentoring, absence data. CRM over here is your customer relation management, and then financial data, production management data, sales data, and other different sources of data. So a common inquiry that we frequently encounter is that what are the different sources of data suitable for analytics. So in this piece, we'll outline several prevalent data sources within HR and wider business realm that can greatly aid your efforts in people analytics. So HR data sources can generally be grouped into three main categories, as I've discussed. HRIS data encompasses data derived from the company's human resource management system, housing the bulk of employee-related information. So few examples of HRIS system which are working very well in the industry today is Workday, Oracle, and SAP. Additional HR data that is crucial for data-informed decision making may not be encompassed within the HRIS. This data is obtained through service or alternative measurement methods. And finally, we have business data, providing an exhaustive compilation of business data. Its significance in people analytics is steadily growing. We'll highlight the most pivotal types of business data commonly utilized in the people analytics. So the HRIS system within the company encompasses data pertaining to fundamental HR functions such as recruitment, performance management, talent management. While specific models within the HRIS may vary among companies, there trends to be a common set of modules retaining data valuable for people analytics. So for the recruitment, one of the primary data sources in HRIS is recruitment data collected from the applicant tracking system. Now, applicant tracking system are basically the portals through which employees can apply for a particular job position in a particular organization. So I'll give you one example over here of applicant tracking system. Since we are using this leverage of online classes is Deloitte. Over here you can go into careers of any particular company. Okay. You'll be asked to log in over here before applying to a particular. So if you are a freshers, you apply over here. If you are an experienced professional, you apply over here. And this gives you brief information about the training development opportunities provided when you are appointed at Deloitte. So assuming you guys are freshers, so I'll click on the for freshers. So over here there are certain jobs available. Okay. So let's apply for tax intern in Hyderabad job. And then I click on this gives you a brief information about job title, its requisition ID, when the job was posted, its location, designation, and then entity. It's a bit about the job. It's a job description. So over here, master's degree is required in economics and commerce with finance specialization, business administration. Now I'll click on this apply now. This is the applicant tracking system I was talking about. I'll create my sign up. I'll do a sign up over here, create an account. Okay. I'll process whole of my application through this login, through this portal. And whether or not my application got preliminary screened or at what stage my application is currently, I can always get into this particular login and portal and get a check on it. This is what ATS systems are. Moving further to the demographic data, that is another crucial data of data available in HRIS employee records, which encompass details like employee ID, name, gender, date of birth, location, job title, department, cost center specifications, termination dates, etc. This demographic data are often included in analysis as control variables. Additionally, when data integration is conducted manually, this database is frequently enriched with data from other systems by matching employee IDs as unique identifiers. Performance management within the HRIS, the performance management system contains information related to employee performance, evaluations, and ratings. LMS is a important dashboard, I would say, in the HRIS system. This serves as another source of HR related information that details about the courses offered and how many of them have applied and worked through that particular training program. So, however, not all learning data is stored solely in the LMS. Often, financial data regarding the expenditure on external courses is also maintained by the finance department, while learning if the impact and effectiveness that is evaluated through the surveys. Job architecture, also known as global grading or job leveling, that provides a framework for compensation structures. Various roles are categorized into salary scales with bands and grades indicating maximum reward levels. Different roles corresponding to different salary scale levels. For example, in collective labor agreements for Dutch universities, salary scales such as function scale H2 and H1 are designated for full university professors, with salaries ranging from €5,582 to €9,812. Many commercial companies incorporate such salary scales and job architecture within their HRIS system. So this will tell you at what grade you are working and at what grade you can have what kind of salary structure. together, compiled together. This is known as the job architecture. To keep employees engaged, they are compensated well. Compensation and benefits data are also stored in HRIS. These include remuneration, daily details, but also secondary benefits. Uh, Then moving towards the succession planning schemes are also part of HRIS. The amount of data depends on the maturity of organization succession planning practices. For example, data includes leadership development data, managerial bench strength, and data about which people are next in line for a particular position. Talent development data is a bit of a weird one out, since talent programs often consist of courses and workshops that are often included in the LMS. However, the broader approach to develop talent is another key piece of information that can be retrieved from HRIS as well. Depending on the organization, exit interview information may also be stored in HRIS. Since HRIS information will more be on the qualitative basis, so it will be available on the HRIS system, but more in a subjective manner, and you will always have to work out to get insight. You will have to read individual exit interviews transcript to get insight out of why employees are leaving the organization. So this provides the information on the reasons why employees have left the organization. This data can be used for analysis aimed at reducing the employee turnover. In the other HR data category, we have our first example is learning data. Data on learning effectiveness and learning program evaluation is often stored separately from LMS and is managed by the learning department. Often this data is stored in Excel spreadsheets and survey collection tools. Integrating this data into a broader HR reporting and insights database is an early priority for organizations that are starting to work on learning analytics or try to advance their reporting. Travel data is another source of important data. Since the number of times someone travels internationally is a potential predictor of employee turnover. However, this kind of data is not stored in traditional HRIS systems. I need to work around here. Okay, why travel data is a potential predictor for employee turnover? Since, see, it's a human nature. If you are sending your employees more and more to abroad, okay, they might get a feel to switch to a particular job in another country by looking at the comfort or the convenience or the more opportunities that they are getting internationally. So this is why this is known as to be the strong predictor of employee turnover. More the number of travels, more likely is the employee is going to get placed internationally, hence they are going to leave the organization. And then that doesn't mean that you should stop your employees to like sending them to abroad assignments, but make sure you provide with ample opportunities them to grow within the same organization. I would like to give you an example over here. One of my friend wanted, since again he had a very traveling job, he was working in Deloitte, but he wanted to shift to Dubai for a better lifestyle and opportunities and other reasons. What he did, he filed in the papers at Deloitte informing he was at the directorial position at Deloitte. Since he was a key personnel in the organization, Deloitte offered him, okay, why are you leaving our organization for shifting to Dubai? And they made an opportunity for him, okay, we can shift you to Dubai, Deloitte Dubai. Instead of shifting the organization, we are just sending you abroad on a new job position at the existing organization. So this is how you can stop a lot of employee turnover that is resulting from this travel threat. Moving further, mentoring. This is a key practice for high potentials and other forms part of talent and leadership development programs. Mentorship can make mentees more effective, stay stronger, and more eligible to advance to a more senior role. Employee survey data is more of a major category in itself. A big part of HR data is collected through surveys. This can range from a poll on the quality of food in the cafeteria, a survey by CEO about his popularity, and traditional engagement survey. Most companies send out surveys in a decentralized way, leading to survey data being scattered in the organization and survey fatigue. Collecting all this data in one place helps to provide better insight into employee survey data. The engagement survey is sometimes part of the employee survey data bank we mentioned before. However, often engagement surveys are collected by a third party to guarantee anonymity. Although this greatly reduces your data capturing potential, but it does not mean that engagement survey is a separate data source. For moving further, the record of absence data is another key HR data category. 6 days are usually tracked by managers and recorded in a system. Some organizations also record absence reasons. Similarly, holidays, maternity leaves, and lateness data are also captured. Over here, I'll give you one example. I used to work in a American bank based in Gurgaon. Over there, on the very first day of my orientation within the organization, HR came and talked a few minutes about their HR policy. One of the major insight about from his speech, I got to know that if I'm going to take leaves, sick leaves, more on Fridays or Mondays, okay, what used to happen? People are more tend to take sick leaves either on Friday or Monday just to get an extended weekend. So it was into their HR policies that you have to restrict your sick leaves to make it an extended weekend over here. Moving further, depending on the organization, there may be records available around participation in employee wellness programs. This serves as another data source that is not captured through HRIS. Data on organization social networks, also referred to as organizational network analysis, that we are going to work on our next session. That can be another great source of information. Potential data sources for this are network surveys, email accounts, phone records, or any other system that reports network data. So just to give you a brief about what network data is, how many people you are connected with internationally within the same organization. So these are the type of questions asked to you in the network service to get a better understanding about what kind of social network my employees has, because I can actually leverage that kind of social network for the upliftment of my own organizational goals. Okay, moving further to the business data, the very first one is the CRM data, that is the company's customer relationship management system, houses extensive data regarding customers encompassing interactions, their NPS scores, leading scores, and more. This data serves as crucial outcome metrics for evaluating the impact of HR policies on customer facing employees. Another vital business data source is financial data, which can range from simple analysis of learning and development spending to more complex assessment of personal cost, ROI calculation for various interventions, and financial analysis. Production management systems offer a wealth of data related to planning, tracking, and managing production processes. This includes metrics such as scheduling, service call volume, delivery rates, delivery speed, and more. These data serve as valuable outcome metrics for assessing the impact of HR policies on employees involved in production or service delivery within the organization. Similarly, sales data serves as another crucial outcome measurement, providing insights such as sales per store. These metrics can be used to evaluate effectiveness of different HR policies, such as learning program effectiveness. This category encompasses both internal business data and external sources. External sources may include market data as well as factors such as flu rates and weather data, which can impact employee performance and productivity. These diverse data sources contribute to a comprehensive understanding of the factors influencing workforce dynamics and outcomes. Just to give one basic example of other sources, you might have seen a trend. Whenever there's a rainy season, students in school, okay, their absenteeism rate goes very high during the rainy season. This is one insight about how weather condition can impact the employee workforce or employee productivity. Now I dwell into the different data formats. Okay. So if I talk about the financial data, for financial data we have a very particular format of putting that data into presentation mode through our trading account, P&L account, balance sheets, and these formats are very well provided to us by the proper authorities, for example ICAI in case of financial data. But when it comes to HR data, since we lack the regulatory body in India that works around the HR field, the industry, the experts, the veterans have come up with their own data formats. So there are four major categories of data formats. The very first one is descriptive analytics, which use the data of historical data to analyze and to learn more about the organization's past. This summarizes information that helps classify the departments and divisions as well as patterns and trends pertaining to employees, including absenteeism, employee turnover rates, workforce demographics, and much more. By analyzing a large amount of previous data, descriptive analytics helps HR professionals in checking areas of improvement and also answer few questions based on employee hiring, average salary, and their absenteeism rate. Answering the same insights can be developed into identifying the areas of improvement or scope for process or optimization. Additionally, it helps provide the groundwork for more advanced and complex analytics such as prescriptive and predictive extrapolative analytics that aids HR managers in spotting emerging trends and formulating plans to optimize employee performance. Then the second format is of diagnostic analytics that comes after moving to an advanced stage from descriptive analysis. However, like descriptive analytics, it is also based on previous events to check on the basic problem that arise from workforce problems or issues. To determine the reason behind certain trends or patterns in the workforce statistics, a thorough examination of the data is required. Diagnostic analytics plays an important role in analysis by examining previous data and thus helps HR professionals in understanding the problems and solutions related to it. Diagnostic analytics helps in understanding and solving various critical problems. For instance, diagnostic analytics helps pinpointing the root causes of issues with high turnover rates. The reasons might be complex and include departmental problems, work duties, or even bad management that leaves prospects for professional growth and advancement unmet or insufficiently compensated and provided with welfare services. On account of such analysis, once the causes are identified, HR professionals are in a state to cure the issue in a better way and develop effective solutions to improve the concerned problem. The next category is of predictive analytics. Utilizing statistical algorithms, extrapolative techniques, and advanced analytics, predictive analytics includes machine learning approaches, analyzes and forecasts future events based on past data. The research looks at various patterns and trends in the workforce data, drawing conclusions about future worker behavior based on that knowledge. HR professionals may use predictive analytics to identify skills shortages and predict future workforce patterns such as employee turnover and to design plans to identify and address big issues before they are resolved. So for example, predictive analytics is a powerful tool to access different types of HR analytics by HR professionals. It helps in forecasting future based on the data predictions of a past experience that may be related to employee data for leaving the organization, performance metrics, and other employee engagement activities. Predictive analysis also helps in being proactive, understanding the underlying cause of many personal related incident, may it be employee turnover, satisfactory compensation, lack of welfare amenities, employee promotion, training and development, growth opportunities, or anything know-how of employees before it comes even more serious problem. Additionally, it aids in improvement. HR specialists may strengthen personal planning, increase recruiting and retention efforts, and eventually assist businesses in reaching specific imaginative heights. Prescriptive analytics, it's the subset of HR analytics that utilizes HR related data, machine learning techniques, and algorithms to suggest actions that HR professionals should do to maximize their workforce and prevent the spread of unfavorable workforce phenomena. So it helps in extending beyond the predictive analysis in the way that it offers recommendations for actions that should be taken to stop potential outcomes before they could actually happen. Prescriptive analytics analyzes data and suggests particular actions based on statistical models. Comparatively speaking, it's like a prescription from a doctor that delivers preventive medication to stop a specific illness from occurring. For example, prescriptive analytics can suggest specific strategies for addressing the problem of high employee turnover rates. It also prescribes strategies of raising staff morale, enhancing learning and growth opportunities, or offering superior pay and benefits. HR professionals may maximize their staff and meet their business objectives by employing prescriptive analytics to take proactive measures within the organization. Moving further to the next topic, that is quantitative and qualitative data analytic techniques in HR analytics. So the fundamental basis of quantitative analysis in HR analytics is the value of data expressed as counts or numbers. Quantitative data is defined as any set of data that has a unique numerical value. Data is any measurable information that may be utilized by academics to do mathematical calculations and statistical analysis to reach findings that have practical applications. For example, number of employees leaving the organization within 6 months, number of employees leaving the organization within 1 year or 2 years, and so on. How many people are late in the workplace on daily basis? How many people are taking leaves beyond their allotted segments? How many people are working beyond their performance standards? So all this data is an example of quantitative data. Now, how do we can analyze this data using various techniques? The very first technique is the cross tabulation. That is the technique for analyzing quantitative data that is most frequently used in cross tabulation. It is a suggested strategy since it uses a straightforward tabular form to draw inferences between different data sets in the research investigation. It contains information that is linked to or in conflict with the other information. Then another method is the trend analysis. That is a statistical analytic method that allows trend-based quantitative data collected over a longer period of time to be examined. This kind of data analysis looks at one variable at a time and aims to understand how these variables vary. It also helps gather feedback about data changes over time. Trend analysis furnishes data based on personal previous patterns of incidents and accordingly make forecasts for the future. Then we have max-diff analysis. This quantitative method of data analysis is used to determine which parameters are more important to customers when making a purchase and to determine their preferences. So in its very simplest version, this strategy is frequently called the best-worst strategy. This method is extremely similar to conjoint analysis, although it is easier to use and interchangeable when making a sales choice that is mostly taken into the account. Conjoint analysis examines the factors that influence a purchase decision and is a quantitative data analysis technique similar to one described above. This method may collect and assess complex data that provide a thorough grasp of the important considerations when making judgment regarding what to purchase. SWOT analysis gives you an employee's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that are represented by numerical values in SWOT analysis. a quantitative data analysis technique that offers a comprehensive picture of the competition. Using this approach, business strategies that work are produced. Then we have turf analysis, also known as total unduplicated reach and basic frequency analysis, that evaluates the entire market reach for a good or service, or a combination of the two. Businesses use this technique to determine how frequently and thorough what channels their messaging reaches to consumers and potential consumers, which enables them to make adjustment to their go to market strategies. And we have analysis of gaps, that helps determine the difference between actual and predicted performance, which is displayed by a side-by-side matrix. This examination of data gaps helps to measure performance gaps and steps required to close them. Moving further, we have qualitative data analytics, which is based on information about people's beliefs, attitude, values, and behaviors in a social setting, is referred to as a qualitative data. It describes non-numerical data such as text, documents, audio and video recording, notes, interview transcripts, and photographs. Qualitative data analysis is often rich, subjective, and comprises detailed information that is typically presented using certain types of language. Reading a large number of transcripts in order to look for patterns or similarities, then identifying themes and creating classes are all part of the processes of analyzing qualitative data. Utilizing qualitative data management simplifies the process and lowers the level of technical complexities. These are kind of analysis that is done without numerical in it. Such analyses are done subjectively based on traits, attributes, and characteristics of the employees. Certain techniques to analyze qualitative data is one-to-one interviews. This is the most popular method for obtaining data for qualitative research problems. Because of this approach, either the interviewer or the researcher conducts direct one-to-one data collecting from the interviewee. Data is collected through the interview process that might be conversational in nature, informational, and unstructured. Most of the time, the interviewers lets the conversation flow determine which open-ended questions to ask. Then another technique is a focus group that is carried out in the form of group discussion. So the debate is moderated by a moderator and the group will consist of around 6 to 10 members. These members of the group might share something depending on the sorted data. When doing research on web developers, a researcher will select IT employees who possess adequate expertise in the web developing field. Then another technique is of record keeping, that is used to refer to the future documents, trustworthy pre-existing documents, and related information sources and data source. It is like going to the library. There one may browse books and other information sources to obtain relevant data for their own research. The next technique is of process of observation. Using this technique, researchers study subjects intently and makes notes and immerses themselves in the setting where the subjects are. We call this process of observant learning. Yes.
Ma'am, in this technique of
Which technique, dear? Observation?
ma'am, observation.
Right.
So, ma'am, first of all, we observe the things and then we write it down, right? And then we just and then we do the analysis of it.
Right. So I'll give you an example over here. Let's say you are placed to observe a group of employees working in the call center. Okay. Now, you have been working there and observing employees for a period of about 1 to 2 months. After observation, you might come up with the certain insights. And those insights could be like the employees' ratings are dropping because of the extra noise coming from the other members in the team if they are sitting very closely within the same proximity. So what happens in a call center? They get a lot of calls, okay, and everyone is talking around them, and there might be a situation an employee is not able to concentrate on the problem resolution of the customer because of the enhanced noise that is coming from its own team. Now, this is a major HR problem. This insight you develop only by observation. Hence, you need to provide a resolution. What resolution you can provide? Either provide your employees with a noise cancelling headphones so that they can work around and with the customer in a very silent mode, or place the employees with an approximate distance from each other, so that they are not able to hear anyone's voice and they are not disturbed by anyone else's calls. Okay. Any further query before I move further? Then we have longitudinal studies. This data collection techniques is used for considerable amount of time. The same data source is used repeatedly. It is an observational research methodology that lasts for several years, occasionally even for several decades. This approach to data collection uses an empirical study of subjects who share characteristics in order to look for correlations. For example, if I want to measure the employee's emotional intelligence, this is one concept HR department is very interested in nowadays, to know the emotional quotient of their employees. Now, this can be studied only and only by longitudinal studies. You cannot just go ahead and ask a particular employee a certain series of questions and measure its emotional quotient. You need to assess the emotional quotient of that individual over and over again in different situations, how well versed that person is on that emotional intelligence scale. So that is one example how can you adopt longitudinal studies for HR analytics purpose. And finally, we have case studies. This method gathers data by carefully reviewing case analysis. This method's versatility is demonstrated by the fact that it may be used for both basic and difficult subjects. The way this approach carefully combines one or more qualitative methods to make conclusion is its strongest point. So for again, I repeat my same example. If I want to understand the emotional intelligence of a particular person, now I'll develop a case study out of that person. What I'll do, I'll go to that person and will ask a series of questions in order to assess his own perception about his own emotional management. Now, that will not suffice my study of that particular person. Okay? I'll quickly go on to his supervisor and will ask a different series of questions addressing to the emotional quotient of that particular employer. Similarly, I'll go to the peers of that employee and will ask a different series of questions related to the employee's emotional intelligence. And will also go to the subordinate to ask different series of questions about the emotional intelligence or the quotient of that particular employee. Togetherly, collectively, okay, if I make insights out of it, this is what a case study method is. Okay, I am drawing conclusion from every aspect of that employee emotional intelligence from different perceptions. This ends and concludes my session for today. Before I leave the session, I just want to give you a recap of what we have done and what topics that we have covered today.
Ma'am, could you
So
tell
we longitudinal study example. Okay. As I've given the example, I'll give another example of longitudinal study. Is a particular employee working in an organization, okay, and that person is not able to meet his or her targets. So as an HR department, there will be a trigger to me that a particular employee is not able to meet his or her targets. What I'll do, at one particular month, I cannot just reprimand the employee, okay. In the very first month, if the person is not able to meet the targets, I'll go to that employee. I'll counsel that employee. What are the issues? Okay. What are the issues that they are facing for which they are not able to meet the targets for that particular month? ठीक है. I'll give plenty of time for that person and opportunity and provide any support if required to come up with an ample performance. Next month again, that person is not able to meet the target. Fine, provided more counseling. Third month again, no improvement in the performance. Then there I'll start reprimanding that particular employee and started positioning certain negative consequences if the person is not able to meet the performance in the next month. So this is a particular example of longitudinal study. When you keep on study a particular subject over and over again at different times of interval in order to come up with the actual cause of the problem. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So, giving you a recap of what we have done in today's class, we started on with discussing the definition of HR analytics and how does it break down into different characteristics of HR analytics. Then we discussed the scope of HR analytics and the HR functions where the HR analytics could be used and how these could be used. That we covered. Then we also discussed the evolution of HR analytics, various sources from which analytics can draw HR related data. And then we talked about different four formats of data formats of HR analytics. The first one is descriptive analytics, then diagnostics, then predictive and prescriptive. Then we talked about different quantitative and qualitative data analytics techniques used in HR analytics. To name some: cross tabulation, trend analysis, max-diff analysis, conjoint analysis, SWOT analysis, turf analysis. And in qualitative, we have one-to-one interviews, focus groups, record keeping, process of observation, and longitudinal studies and case studies. That's it from my side for today's session. Please let me know if you have any further queries, or we can just end the session now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Okay, then see you guys next week.